Okay, so we're talking about creating a pattern. We've taken our icon and we've added some dots. When we come in, we're playing with the different tile types, the difference between columns, grids, and brick by row. I'm going to do brick by row. My main tile is this darker red. The lighter red is the tile pattern. And then I can choose how many copies, right? You have all these different choices. In other words, how many do I need for my whatever I'm doing? I'm going to just keep mine small for my needs right now. I don't need it bigger. It's just going to depend. You probably aren't going to need it that big because, again, we're making these banners. We're not like doing a whole building or something. We're just doing a banner. So once I have it done, I can go ahead and close the edit panel. And notice how it's still in that edit mode. As soon as I double click back onto my desktop, it's disappeared. And you might be like, oh, I just have my tile left. Where did it go? Well, it tells you right at the beginning, it goes into your swatch panel. And so where are my swatches? Here they are. So if I look here, I can see there they are. There's Krabby. So if I take a rectangle and fill it, or a square, I can fill it with my Krabby pattern. Now, let's say this is the size I want to use my pattern, the square I have right here. But notice how I'm not getting very many of my crabs into this scale, into this square. They're too big. The pattern's too big for my square. So the beautiful thing about that is we can change the pattern scale. We don't have to change the shape or size of our shape that we're filling. We can change the scale of our pattern. So I'm going to double click on the scale tool in the toolbar. And I want to keep it at uniform scale. I don't want to transform my object. I don't want to scale the strokes and effects, and I don't want to scale the corners. I only want to transform my pattern, which is right here, only transforming the pattern. And I want to make my pattern 50% of the size. And I turn in 50 and I hit tab. There it is. There's my pattern. And I'm like, oh, I kind of even want it smaller. Okay, 25%. There it is. There's my Krabby, very small. And I'm thinking, oh, that's maybe a little too long. Let's mess it around. Let's try 35. There we go. And I have preview selected. That's why I'm seeing it while I'm in this window. I have preview selected. And so I'm going to say, okay. So now I've shrunk my pattern to fit my shape, but I might not like the way it's cropping my shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be in the direct select tool, hold the tilde down on my keyboard, and now I can move my pattern around in my shape. So now I have my pattern and I'm moving it around in my shape so that I can kind of balance out where the crabs are being cropped. There we go. That's the way I like it right there. So there is my Krabby pattern in the scale, in the shape I want. Any questions?
I have a question about um so do we to crop the images because they're all in one document right now, do we just do can we do like a clipping mask to release them or how how do we release them from the one page so we can do the patterns? Does that make sense?
I'm not following because they each are individual vector files. You should be
Yeah,
able to move them around.
I can move them around, but I my question is maybe it's just not computing in my brain. Um, should I just do it in the same document?
Yeah. So you could add another artboard. Is that what you mean? Like you want to put
Yeah,
it on another? Yeah, okay, got it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, let's do another artboard. So go to Window, Artboards,
Mhm.
okay, and just let's go ahead and add another artboard and create a new artboard to start working on your patterns. Yep, and that way you don't have to have it in where your other stuff is. Yeah, just more of an organization thing. Yeah, so we can put our patterns down here. Now I can also take this same tile that I've used and make edits to it and say, you know what? Maybe I don't want all my crabs to be my little everything to be red. Maybe I want to add some other color to this. So I can also say, come back to this one, and I already have that red one, but now I can click and let's make our dots a different color. Let's say, actually, for my second pattern, I'm going to go ahead and make my dots this orange color. And now I'm going to select everything, object, pattern, make. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead back to brick by brick. There's my pattern. And I'm going to say, yep, that's awesome. That's what I want to do. I'm going to let it go. Oh, you know what? That's all right. I can rename it. So now it's called new pattern, and I'm going to change the name of it to Crabby 2 color. Okay. So that's Crabby 2 color. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say, I'm going to create a shape. This time I want it to be more of a rectangle. Oh, and again, it's way too big. And when I double clicked on scale, it automatically started transforming things. And I'm like, you know what? I want this one to be a little bigger. So I'm going to make it 50. And I'm going to say, okay. I'm also going to go back into my direct select tool, hold my tilde down, and move it around so it's working for me nicely. Cropping. There it is. So there's pattern 2 with crab. So now I have crab over here, 2 different scales. Notice how, because I grabbed this as a PDF off of Mural, it has this little background. If you add a background color to anything, that background color will be part of your pattern. So if I was using a vector file, this wouldn't be happening. I don't have Quinn's vector file. I'm just using her PDF. So that's why you're getting this kind of white background. But it is also good to point out that if I did want the whole background to be white, I would need to put a white square, object arrange, send to back, behind everything so that it gave everything a white background. So if I select all of this now, I can go to object, pattern, make, and notice now when I call it Crabby with back, close it. And then now I can, so these two both have these white backgrounds because I am using the PDF, but I can now grab my newest tile, which is Crabby with a background, and look at there. Now it has a background color. So that solves that issue. So again, you can add a background color, you can have it be translucent, but those are things to be aware of. All right. Any questions?
Sticker. I tried to make the pattern in my previous project and I saved it and used it, but whenever I'm opening a new file of Illustrator, it's not showing. So it's only going to be used at the current project. We can't use it for future projects.
It's going to be saved. That's a very good question, Marwa. It's going to be saved with the project you're in. So notice that in my swatches, these new patterns are only going to be saved with this file. So if I go ahead and call this file save as patterns, you're right. And then I go ahead to a new project. So let's go file new. So what Mara's saying is she goes to a new project and look at our swatches. Those are gone. All our crabby patterns are gone. So what I would have to do if I want to bring these patterns into a new file is I would copy them copy, Command C, Control C, come into my new file, Command V, paste. And now you can see those patterns are showing up in my new file. But yeah, the other way is to include them in a library. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's go ahead and open up our library. So Window, Libraries. I want libraries. Okay. So let me go to GD1. All right, so here is, I'm going to create a new library. Let's create a new library and call this GD1 symbol project. Okay, so I'm going to create a new library, totally empty. I'm going to take these, and when I click on my Krabby with background, there's a little button down here. It's Swatch Library Menu, and it looks like a little pile of books. If I click that, I'm going to go down to User Defined or Other Patterns, Other Library. Blah, 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 blah. Wait a minute. Why isn't it just bringing it into my Save Swatches? Why isn't it going into my, giving me my library choices? Wonder if I can click it and drag it.
Do you have to select them first, maybe from the artboard or no?
Maybe. Let's see if we can do it this way. I was just grabbing it as artwork. See here, well, let's try something. I'm gonna just try it. I thought we could save these in this way into our
I recently
saves.
had a project kind of like this, and I had to save my patterns. If you go back to the library,
I'm in the library.
um, or I'm
Oops,
sorry,
I
that
closed it.
bottom one on the swatches where it looks kind of like an M. Yeah, right
Yep.
there. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had to go
User
to,
defined.
or is there something
Um,
underneath that that says like your library, something like specifically to you?
No, there's just user defined. And I have made user
Okay.
defined swatch libraries. Um,
Let me go into
but
mine and
other
see.
library is like choosing an existing library that you're getting. You used to be able to click this and add it to your library, your Creative Cloud library. But let me see if they've just changed it. That's just the pattern. See, when they kind of come up with color groups cannot create patterns. New swatch, cancel. They open swatch library. All right, so, and then here, you can add colors to your libraries, your Creative Cloud libraries, but they're putting this in as graphics, not as a swatch. Hmm. I don't want to invite anyone. Let's try something though. If I save the artwork here, these two, and I go to a new file, let's create a new file. Can I pull this artwork into the file and will it add to the swatches or will it just be an art file? Yeah, it's not adding to the swatches. It's just an art file. It's not behaving anymore like a swatch. All right, I have one other thought on how we can do this with the new way they're doing things. So we can take the swatches and create, for example, a new color group. And I'm going to call this patterns or my patterns. Let's call it my patterns. my patterns, selected swatches. So hold on, let me select swatches. I want to select these 3 swatches. I'm going to make a group with the folder icon, the new color group, and I'm going to call it my patterns and say, okay. Oh, your group cannot contain patterns. Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. That's frustrating. Okay, so our new group cannot contain patterns. How can we save our patterns? Ah, it does work that way. Okay. So here's a okay, this is how we'll do it. This is what I did for a client. I create a lot of patterns for them and they have a very specific color palette. So we can make our own color palette swatches that we then save that will include our patterns. That would be the way to work around the fact that it won't let us put them directly into our libraries. So we can decide on, like, let's say you take all of your colors for your project and you make, you kind of get rid of the things we don't want. So like the things I don't want, I can kind of select all of these kind of generic-y things and colors that I don't want. And you can hit delete and then just delete them so that when you have your colors exactly how you want them, then you can go ahead and save swatch library as, let's see, how did I do that? A save swatch library as, yeah, as pattern demo, save. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a new file, new.
بطاطا وبصل خلصوا يمكن.
Did that make sense, Marwa?
Oops. Yes, I think
What I did is I just saved it as a color swatch. So now I can go here into the libraries and I can say user defined pattern demo. This opens up, but it doesn't have the patterns. My last one I did had the patterns. Why is it not showing the patterns?
I think for me maybe we have to return to the original file that we work on. We have to remember in which project we worked on that. But I know that this way is much easier than how we can use it for future projects. But I'm sure it's saved on the original one. So I don't know if we can do this.
Save. Let me try again. And so then let me go to a new document and go file, user defined pattern demo. Pattern demo. There it is. Okay, there it is. It is that way. So they are saved. So you can save your swatch, your swatches. Instead of saving it in our Creative Cloud libraries, you can save your swatch. That's how you can save them. And then when you get into a new file, you just go here, user defined, and you name whatever you're naming your library, your swatches, you'll select it. So I just called mine pattern demo, and there they are. So now I'm in a new document, and I can choose, my different swatches that I made. Did that make sense? No, it took me a second to kind of get back to that, but I've used that in the past, and I think that as much as I like using libraries and I use them for everything, patterns can be tricky to get them to add to the Creative Cloud libraries.
Can you show us also quickly how we add the color pattern to the library? So should I?
The colors from Adobe Color?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're in, that's a great question. So when we're in Adobe Color, and we find a color palette we want, like we found what we want, right? We can then, right here on the right, it says save to GD symbol project. So I have it already, like these are all my libraries. This is the one I've been just working on. So I can save it to GD symbol and I can name it. So I can call this my Krabby palette. And then I'm going to go ahead and save. So then I'm going to come back to Illustrator. And here it is already showing up in my library. There's my Krabby palette. And so now I can, let's say I'm going to start making other boxes. I can go over here and start coloring them in. Just literally clicking into my colors in my palette right here from the library. And I can just roll over each color and select it. So if I want to make, multiple colors and shapes, I can do it like that. Okay. Good question. Very good question. So that's how I can add my color palettes from Adobe Color right into my Creative Cloud library. And like I said, I love using libraries. However, there are some little holes in the system. So that is something that still working on. Okay.